Attorney, so medyo hinihimay-himay natin no itong naging inilatag ng prosecution over the past couple of hours. So kanina inilatag ni Attorney Edward Jeremy itong second count, which is yung doon sa targeting ng at pagpatay sa mga high value targets, at yung pangatlo charge which is focused on the Oplan Tokhang or yung mga barangay level na operations during the war on drugs. At ito naman si Attorney Robin Croft, pinaliwanag naman niya yung basis at ano ba yung naging role ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte dito sa Crimes Against Humanity charge na kinakarap niya dyan sa ICC. Ano po ang masasabi ninyo doon sa paglatag ng prosecution? Dahil tapos na po yung kanilang oras para maglatag ng kanilang mga ebidensya.
So, dalawang bagay ang dapat siguro tandaan ng mga nanonood. Una, confirmation of charges hearing lang ito. It's only a confirmation of charge hearing. This is not a trial, which means only the lawyers, the prosecution lawyers are speaking. In an actual trial, and this case could go onto a trial, you will hear witnesses. You will hear yung mga sinasabi ng ICC Prosecutor's Office lawyers na itong insider witness na ito nagsasabi na ito ang ginawa kay Espinosa, or itong witness na to na binanggit rin ni Paulina Masida, no, yung legal representative for yung Office of the Public Counsel for Victims, itong biktima na to na naka-witness, sinabi niya ito. These people might be presented by the prosecutor's office during trial but not here. Pangalawa, importante rin tandaan na ang ginagawa ng prosecution office, pinapakita niya as an outline, no? Outline lang na ito ang ebidensya namin to support the first count, yung high value targets. Ito ang ebidensya namin to support Oplan Tokhang. Ito ang ebidensya namin to support double barrel, no? Yung mass killing in Tondo. Outline. So hindi ito detalyado, pero ang importante din mapansin, even as an outline, it's very detailed, no? May slides, may photos, may organogram, no? Makikita mo yung hierarchy ng death squads na itinayo. So again, remember that this is meant for the three judges in front of them. For those three people in front, the judges of the pretrial chamber, decide whether this case should proceed to trial.
Attorney Carranza, granted po na hindi pa natin naririnig yung sagot naman at ng defense team, at granted na ito ay we haven't really discussed, we haven't taken a deep dive yet dito sa mga ebidensya dahil nga as you mentioned, pre-trial lamang ito, kumbaga parang layout lamang ito, no? At we haven't heard from the witnesses yet. But doon sa nailatag ngayon ng prosecution, do you think there is enough basis? So, tingin niyo po ba strong na case ito for the judges to decide na mayroon yung sapat na ebidensya para ituloy ito sa trial?
So, ang dapat ring isama sa pag-evaluate, no, kung malakas na ba ito, pwede na bang i-confirm yung charges, kung isama natin yung sinabi ni Nicholas Kaufman na plano niyang ipresenta in response. Sinabi niya sa speech niya kahapon, na sabihin niya na may mga statement rin naman si Duterte na sinabi niya sa police, sundan niyo yung batas. You know? So sabi niya, marami ring speeches si Duterte na gano'n. And then, pangalawa, sinabi niya na hindi naman kailangan magpresenta ng ebidensya si Duterte dahil may presumption of innocence. No? Na lahat ng akusado, lahat ng sinasabi na gumawa ng krimen, may pag-aakala na hindi sila may kasalanan hanggat hindi pa sila kinasuhan, nilitis, at sentensyahan. No? So he's relying on the presumption of innocence. So, which means he is unlikely to present more evidence than what he's already said he will present. Those statements of Duterte saying he will follow the law, or he's telling the police to follow the law. So, unless tomorrow or later or tomorrow Kaufman decides to say he has other witnesses, and it's possible. No, it's very possible that he has For example, former Duterte officials to testify. This is very, very unlikely, but let's just say there's a possibility he will ask Duterte himself to testify, which I doubt that he will do. The evidence so far, based on the outline presented by the prosecution, is strong enough to support confirmation. Remember, the standard is substantial ground, hindi proof beyond reasonable doubt. So I think so far, the grounds to believe that Rodrigo Duterte committed crimes against humanity or murder are substantial enough to allow the judges to confirm the charges.
So right now, without hearing yet yun sa defense side, sir, no, you believe that confirmation yung magiging ending nitong pre-trial natin?
Right. And ang isa pa sigurong dapat tandaan, lagi kasing sinasabi, and this is the unfortunate part of the Duterte disinformation campaign, na bakit 39 counts lang, no? Bakit 500 plus victims lang ang na-admit to participate. Walang plano ang prosecution to present evidence showing that there were 30,000 people killed in the drug war. Unang-una, it's impractical. That will take years. Pangalawa, ang crimes against humanity, including itong kaso ni Duterte, crimes against humanity of murder, only require that 2 or more people were killed, were murdered. No? So, kahit dalawa lang, tatlo, kahit yung Kian de los Santos case lang at yung Espinosa case, pwede na yun. No? But instead, they're offering evidence to support showing that more than the number of people that have been identified, more than 2 people were killed. So that's sufficient for this purpose. Even for a trial, that would also be sufficient. It would not be necessary to show 30,000 people were murdered in the drug war.
Attorney Carranza, if we can show here on our screens, no, doon sa speech ni Attorney Croft kanina, no, pinakita niya yung ilan sa mga co-perpetrators ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte during his time as mayor of Davao City and as the president of the country. So if we can flash that on the screen, meron ditong 6 na co-perpetrators na pinangalanan si Attorney Croft as co-perpetrators of the former president during his time as Davao City mayor. So nandyan si current Senator Bato de la Rosa, Vicente Danao, Camilo Cascolan, si Senator Bongo, Dante Gueran, at si Vitaliano Aguirre. And also, on the national level, pinangalanan dito si Senator Bato de la Rosa, Vicente Danao, Camilo Cascolan, Oscar Albayalde, of course, part of the police force. Current Senator Bongo, as back then, the special assistant to the president. Dante Gueran, the former director of NBI. Vitaliano Aguirre II, as former Secretary of Justice, and former Chief of PIDEA, Isidro La Peña. So, possible po ba na ngayon na pinangalanan ng prosecution itong mga individual na ito as co-perpetrators of President Duterte? Indicative ba ito na posible din na maging parte ng magkaroon din ng arrest warrant against them, ang ICC? Is this a sign of what's to come?
So, mapapansin ng nanonood na may reference ang ICC prosecutors to insider witnesses. So far, we don't know, they haven't disclosed how many insider witnesses there are. Although, we can say that those insider witnesses were involved in the operational side. So pagpatay mismo, kasama sa death squad. I'll be surprised if the prosecutor does not seek warrants for most of those who have been named as co-perpetrators. No? Matatandaan natin na tinago muna yung pangalan nila, no? Redaction. Unang lumabas yung confirmation hearing brief. And then lesser redacted ang lumabas last week, so makikita na yung 8 pangalan. Posible kasing yung isa, dalawa, or how many, hindi natin alam, sa mga nakapangalan dyan, sa mga nakasulat dyan, na pwede silang tumistigo kung gusto nila. No? And kung gusto nilang klaruhin na hindi sila kasali o hindi ganon ang papel nila, pwede silang mag-offer to testify. No? In other words, if they wanted to, they can become insider witnesses. Now, I'm not saying they will be, but if they wanted to, they can be. I understand one of these people is deceased, no? So matatanggal na yan from the list. His family will have to submit, or prosecutor's office can also look at his death certificate. But it's very likely that warrants of arrest will be sought against them. In fact, it's also possible that warrants of arrest have already been issued or requested, not issued. Right now, may bagong patakaran yung ICC. Dati, ang Office of the Prosecutor could issue a press release or even hold a press conference announcing that his office has requested warrants of arrest. About a few months ago, sinabi ng ICC judges na hindi na dapat mag-issue ng press release, na hindi na dapat i-announce kapag nagre-request pa lang, no, ang ICC prosecutor. So, posibleng nag-request na, hindi lang alam ng publiko na nag-request na ang ICC prosecutor's office.
Attorney Carranza, I know this question might sound absurd, no? But if I may ask, gagana ba dito yung depensa na that's just how the president speaks? Hindi mo pwedeng i-take literally yung sinasabi ni president. Joker yan eh. Personality niya eh. Gagana ba dito yung ganung klase ng defense?
Hindi naman kasi ito ang unang pagkakataon na may ganyang defense, not just in criminal cases but specifically in ICC cases, no. May mga akusado sa ICC na they make speeches, they hold press conferences, they issue commands and encouragement to their armed groups in other countries where there are ICC cases, and those claims have never really been taken seriously as a defense by the ICC. May tinatawag na nexus, no? Yung connection between speech and action. If the ICC prosecutors can show the nexus, yung connection ng speech at saka action, yung sinabi at kung anong nangyari, then nawawala yung bisa, kung may bisa man, yung nagbibiro lang yan, no? Naalala ko yung spokesperson ni Duterte, laging sinasabi yan, nagbibiro lang. O si Kaufman kahapon, nananakot lang yan, no? Yung pananakot, yung pagbibiro, as they're not really strong defenses, no? Because these are public statements of an official, the highest official of the country, where killings took place. So, regardless of his intention, these statements are taken at face value for what they are. Si Kaufman na rin mismo nagsabi that Duterte is a man of his word. Na si Duterte daw ay sumusunod, pinapatunayan ang sinasabi niya. So if that's the case, was he joking or was he serious? No? But it doesn't matter. It's a weak defense. But once you show the connection between speech and action.
Attorney Carranza, gusto kong puntahan ngayon yung naging speech ni Principal Counsel of ICC Office of Public Counsel for Victims, Paulina Masida. No, she focused her yung statement niya kanina on the Duterte administration framing itong war on drugs as a law enforcement issue, a criminal issue, rather than addressing yung root of the problem, which is poverty, mentioned the scarce employment opportunities, lack of access to quality education, absence of mental health services. So sinasabi niya, ito yung mga nagdulot sa mga tao, sa mga may hirap na komunidad na to turn to drugs. So instead of addressing those problems, bakit tinreat as a criminal element itong paggamit ng illegal na droga? So will that have some weight on the decision of the judges o talagang focused lang on the evidence na inilatag ng prosecution?
Ang mga dating International Criminal Tribunal na nauna sa ICC, nagkaroon kasi ng mga tinatawag na ad hoc, na hindi permanent na tribunals for Yugoslavia, yung dating Yugoslavia, nagkaroon ng mga war crimes dahil sa gera, o sa Rwanda, nagkaroon ng tribunal ang Rwanda para sa genocide na nangyari doon, or Cambodia, kapitbahay ng Pilipinas, merong tribunal para lang doon sa Khmer Rouge Court. Yung sa Yugoslavia at sa Rwanda, walang victim participation. Prosecution lang at defense. Sa Cambodia, for the first time, nagkaroon ng victim participation. Sinama yung mga biktima na kasama sila sa paglilitis para makapagsalita sila kung anong nangyari sa kanila, kung anong interest nila. In fact, I was involved in the drafting of the victim participation provisions dun sa Cambodia court para maisama ang biktima. So ang primary purpose ng pagsama sa mga biktima ng krimen, sa hindi lang sila background, hindi lang sila nanonood, hindi lang sila testigo dahil hindi naman lahat sa kanila magiging testigo kung hindi naman nila napanood, nakita, narinig ang nangyari. Pero ngayon, kasama na sila mismo doon sa korte. No? Hindi sila audience, wala sila doon sa gallery. Nandun sila sa baba, kasama yung mga abogado. Ang purpose niyan ay para ipakita na ang krimen may mga napapahamak. Ang purpose ng victim participation para ipakita na ang krimen merong nasasaktan, may namamatay, may nawawalan ng asawa, may nawawalan ng anak. Malaking bagay yan dahil hindi lang dapat ang pagpapatunay na nangyari ang krimen ang tinitingnan ng mga huwes, no, ng chamber. Dapat tingnan din ng chamber kung ano yung laki, no, kung ano yung bigat ng epekto ng krimen. Tandaan natin na crimes against humanity ang kaso, hindi ito murder. No? Crimes against humanity is a type of crime that is so serious that in fact, any country that is a member of the ICC could have brought this case to the ICC. Right? Hindi kailangan na si Marcos Jr. ipa-aresto niya si Duterte. No? Iceland could have brought this case to the ICC and it almost did. It's that gravity that requires the court to consider the victims of the case. Now, technically, yung statements ni Paulina Masida, who has been the head of the Office of the Public Counsel for Victims for a long time, technically, what it does is show what happened after the crimes were committed and what was happening when the crimes were committed. So yung parte na what was happening when the crimes were committed, that has technical legal significance. It's very possible because she refers to the prosecution's evidence. Makikita mo, she refers to the marking, kung ano yung tab, kung ano yung page doon sa confirmation brief ng prosecution. Makikita natin later when Gilbert Andres speaks that they also adopt some of the positions taken by Paulina, by Attorney Masida, which in turn adopts the prosecution. So, hindi ito ibig sabihin na may sariling ebidensya ang counsel for victims, kundi gagamitin nila yung ebidensya na sinubmit ng prosecution but from the perspective of the victim. So Masida, for instance, talks about what a family saw, right, when their family member was killed, when the shootings, when the killings were taking place. So malaking bagay yan because it allows the judges to see the crimes being committed from a broader perspective, not just from the perspective of a prosecutor who wasn't there, or a defendant who denies it, who doesn't even want to appear and be seen at the hearing. If he's so confident in his innocence, he would be there. Malaking bagay na makikita, maririnig yung perspektibo ng mga nakakitang biktima at ng pamilya nila.
Attorney Carranza, hindi po ako lawyer, no? But from my understanding, napakahalaga na mapatunayan itong prosecution na indirect perpetrator itong si Pangulong Duterte na hindi man siya kumbaga he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, pero meron siyang hand, kumbaga meron siyang role dito sa drug war na polisiya niya nung time na siya ay hindi lang presidente ng Pilipinas kundi mayor din ng Davao City. You mentioned earlier that granted, we haven't seen yet yung side ng defense, no, but you believe that based on the presentation of the prosecution team, this might end up na confirmation ng charges against the former president. Is there a particular part ng presentation nila kanina that you think is a very strong na kumbaga foothold nitong prosecution dito sa kaso na ito?
Dahil dinivide, no, hinati-hati ng ICC prosecutor yung presentation, diba, na not only each count but also the roles of the various persons that they mentioned were involved in the entirety of the killings in the drug war. Ang purpose niyan para ipakita yung chain, no? yung kadena ng utos, sinong inutusan, anong ginawa ng inutusan, sinong nagbayad, sino ang nagtakip doon sa gumawa ng pagpatay, at ano naman ang sinabi nung unang nag-utos. No? So there's a cycle, there's a loop that the prosecution is showing. Isa sa pinakamabigat na pinakita ng prosecution so far, yung mga sasabihin ni Rodrigo Duterte, and many of the statements of Duterte were very, very explicit. No? Hindi ito yung nagbibiro lang siya type of statements. Kahit na tumawa yung audience, si Rodrigo Duterte did not even say, I'm only joking. You could say that, you could also not say that. It becomes obvious if you were really joking, but he was not. And I think the judges will see that even if his lawyer says he was only joking, the judges will see that he was not. Ang importante na nakikita ng judges na pagkatapos ni Duterte magsalita, may epekto yung pagsalita niya. May namatay, may sunod-sunod na patayan. Tapos, hindi lang yon, yung mga pumatay, yung mga pulis na kasangkot sa patayan, hindi hinahabol, hindi hinahanap, hindi iniimbestiga, walang nangyari. Ang connection niyan, yung speech uli, babalik uli dun sa speech ni Duterte. Sasabi niya, protektahan ko kayo, bibigyan ko kayo ng pardon kung kailangan, gawin nyo lang ito. So, each action has a connection to each part of the speeches and the statements he was making. That's the strongest link between talk and action.
So walang, what you're saying, attorney, what I'm getting is walang magiging weight. Yung emotional rhetoric, kumbaga, dito sa issue na ito, na parang, kumbaga, he did it. He had to do what he had to do for the welfare of Filipinos, and kumbaga may mga ganung klaseng rhetoric, walang weight yan.
Right. Plus, that's, hindi kasi legal argument yung paninindigan ko ito, kasuhan nyo ako. Pag kinasuhan ka, you cannot just say, sinabi mo di ba? You said, kasuhan nyo ako dito sa mga inuutos ko, which means, number one, na seryoso siya because he was, in effect, daring people, not just the ICC, but anyone who wanted to go after him. That's not a joke, that's a dare. Pangalawa, when in fact they go after him by prosecuting him, that's no longer a defense. No, your defense, and that's what I expect Nicholas Kaufman to do. His defense would be to say there is no one among those insider witnesses who claims that he or she directly was told by Duterte, kill this person or kill that person. Except that, hindi kailangan ang ganong klaseng ebidensya, hindi kailangan ang ganong klaseng testimonya to convict a person of crimes against humanity of murder. There's such a thing as circumstantial evidence. If you take all the circumstances together, lahat ng mga nangyari, pinagtagpi-tagpi mo, tinahi mo, tapos makikita mo yung buong itsura, you can still convict a person for the crime. There is also such a thing as inference, no? May infer mo, no? Makukuha mo sa ilang mga ebidensyang pinakita ang isang konklusyon, no? So there's an inference that can be made, and that can still support proof beyond reasonable doubt. Nasanay siguro kasi tayo minsan na yung drama sa TV, no, na meron talagang direct evidence, meron talagang tumistigo na nakita ko o narinig ko. But in many of these cases, 5,000 hanggang 30,000 patayan, hindi naman pwedeng si Duterte ang pumatay sa kanila lahat. Pupunta siya sa bawat sulok ng Pilipinas, pupunta siya sa Tondo, sasakay sa motorsiklo, mambabaril siya. Although he claims to have done that in Davao. So that's the other thing, no? Na He himself claims that he did it in the past when he was mayor. So it's not unthinkable for him to then order people to do it now that he's president.
Carranza kanina na yung opening speeches or yung opening statements ng prosecution and defense yesterday, kumbaga it serves as a little bit of a layout of what to expect doon sa kanilang pagpresenta ng kanilang mga ebidensya. And if we're going to use that as a basis, I'm assuming the defense team, itong team ni Attorney Kaufman, would be laying down some of the speeches din ni Pangulong Duterte na sinasabi nga niya na where he also discussed human rights and self-defense, yung mga ganong klaseng angulo, no? Pero what struck me, Attorney Carranza, was hindi dinenay na hindi sinabi. Ang sinasabi lang, hindi lang yan ang sinabi. Yun yung kumbaga, ganun yung pagka-frame ni Attorney Kaufman doon sa kanyang opening speech yesterday. Hindi namin dinedeny na sinabi yan, pero hindi lang yan ang sinabi. Can that be used against the defense?
Yes, because you're not denying. You're just saying that he said other things. But the fact is he said these things, and whether or not he said something else in the same speech or in other speeches does not take away the fact that he asked people to kill. It does not take away the fact that he promised to protect and pardon police who kill. It does not take away the fact that he told families of neighborhoods where drug war operations were being undertaken to kill their own neighbors, right? So even if he gave other speeches, because he gave other speeches, right? Hindi naman pwedeng ang lahat ng speech tungkol lang sa patayan. And even in those speeches where he said, just follow the law, just obey the law, makikita natin na na-anticipate na yan ng prosecutor. At even si Kaufman knows that the prosecutor anticipated that. Sinabi ng prosecutor's office na si Duterte has a legal background. He was a prosecutor. And yet he didn't take his role seriously because even in the early years of his being prosecutor and his early years as mayor, he already committed himself. He already announced publicly. Hindi pa siya presidente, nag-speech na siya. Konti lang yung nakikinig sa kanya. Later, yung mga local TV, local radio stations lang sa Davao nag-i-interview sa kanya, but he was already saying the same things. He would kill. He would plant evidence. So hindi ito joke, hindi ito parang for a larger audience. And therefore, yung pagpapakita na as a prosecutor, as a lawyer, he was already knowledgeable enough to know that planting evidence or even killing suspects can be defended, that people can get away with it in the Philippines or at least in his city. Makikita mo yan, he had the kind of knowledge, enough knowledge of the law to know how to get around it, including when he speaks. He says, go ahead and kill, but then he says, only if they fight back. Dinadagdag niya yan because as a lawyer, he knows that his earlier statement would be used against him. He says it anyway, and he hopes, he thinks he can get away with it by adding these sentences. Kaufman knew that. That's why he's saying, he had other speeches where he said this, but that's just his excuse. It doesn't deny the fact that he ordered people to kill.
Attorney Carranza, bagong development, only less than an hour ago, President Duterte waived his right to appear before the pretrial chamber for the review of his detention this coming Friday. Wala pang desisyon dito yung pretrial chamber kung aprobado ito or hindi. But hindi ba ito makikita as an act of defiance sa ICC?
That's what they want people to think, that it's an act of defiance. I won't show up because I don't recognize your jurisdiction. But the problem is that when he first exercised his right to waive, he made arguments which are not really necessary, which even the pretrial chamber scolded his lawyer for. These are extraneous, hindi ito, extra lang to, drama lang to, dinadagdag nyo dyan. Nag-request siya ng waiver. All you have to do when you request a waiver is request a waiver. Just say the barest excuse that you want, which is, I don't want to show up because I don't recognize your jurisdiction. But he still continued to argue there, and that's the problem. Now, there were other former or current presidents, heads of state who did not recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC after they were arrested or after they were summoned, but they showed up. They defied the court by showing up and telling the court, I don't recognize your jurisdiction. They defied the ICC by actually being present, showing that they were not afraid to be present, and yet say that I do not recognize your jurisdiction. Sino yan? Halimbawa, presidente dati ng Ivory Coast, no? Cote d'Ivoire, Laurent Gbagbo. He was arrested in the capital, brought to the ICC, detained, challenged the jurisdiction of the ICC, and then showed up at the confirmation hearing, just like what we're seeing today, and said, I don't recognize your jurisdiction. That was denied. Natalo siya dun sa jurisdictional question. He was put on trial while in detention. Anong outcome? He was acquitted. President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya was summoned by the ICC, hindi in-arrest. No? Sinamon. He could have opted not to show up. He could have just said, and his lawyer did argue that the ICC has no jurisdiction to investigate political violence after an election, isn't part of the ICC jurisdiction. Yun ang argumento ng abogado ni Kenyatta, who, by the way, is also the law firm that yung co-counsel na Kaufman works for, no? Yung 9BR. Si Kenyatta showed up at the ICC, challenged the ICC's jurisdiction, and eventually, for reasons na relevant rin siguro dito sa Duterte case, the case was withdrawn by the prosecutor. Maraming testigong pinatay, pati abogado ng mga biktima pinatay din sa Kenya. Naubusan ng testigo ang ICC prosecutor at that time si Fatou Bensouda, yung predecessor ni Karim Khan, at kaya napilitan ng prosecutor to withdraw the charges. So pwede kang maging defiant, pwede kang kumontra sa jurisdiction ng ICC. Pwede mong sabihin na wala kayong karapatan, hulihin ako, dalhin ako rito, at ikulong ako rito. Pero pwede mo ring sabihin yan sa harap ng ICC. Ba't ayaw niyang sabihin sa harap ng ICC?
And this is a personal question, Attorney Carranza, but I hope you can give me an answer to this. No, what does he get from it? What does he get from refusing to acknowledge and recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC over him? Because nakakulong na siya. So parang ano po yung nakukuha niya out of not acknowledging and recognizing itong jurisdiction ng ICC?
Hubris, ang tawag dyan. No? Mahirap maghanap ng Tagalog o Filipino equivalent. No? Pwede mong sabihin pride, pero it's more than just pride. Pwede mong sabihin yabang, but it's not really exactly only yabang. No? May mga tao na akala nila sila yung, siguro, akala nila para silang Diyos. No? Sila lang ang masusunod at kapag may tumutol sa gusto nila, akala nila sila yung may hawak ng buhay at kamatayan, no? Life or death of a person. And these types of persons would rather punish themselves or be punished by others than admit that they were wrong and submit themselves to a process where they can defend their actions, where they can justify their actions, where they can say why they did it, because they know, I think, at the back of their minds, that they were wrong, but that they thought there was an excuse, that there was a justification for what they did. And I think that's what's on his mind. He thinks that murder is wrong, but he also thinks, I had to commit it. I had to kill people because I thought that was the only way I could do what I promised to do. Which is whatever he thinks is what that is, but it's still a crime. And in this case, it's a crime against humanity.
I asked that question because, again, should the pretrial chamber confirm the charges against him, he will have no choice but to show up dun sa trial proper. Kasi, from what I know, required ito. Tama ba, attorney? So, mapipilitan din naman siyang magpakita at some point. And showing up would also, kung totoo nga, yung narrative na he's old and frail, di ba, showing up would just prove that and really strengthen that narrative. So that's why I'm very interested about what does he get from not showing up and not recognizing the jurisdiction of the ICC over him.
May nabasa akong theory na ang theory is that si Nicholas Kaufman is afraid that if Duterte showed up in court, si Duterte might not be able to control himself and start speaking, start talking, start volunteering his own views. I'm not sure that he will do that. I'm not sure that he cannot be stopped by Nicholas Kaufman, but at the same time, and I think nakita naman ito ng mga Pilipino in those congressional hearings, which by the way were also shown by the prosecutor's office, that he actually not only showed up at these congressional hearings in the Philippines, but he started admitting, that he was the death squad, that he had death squads, that he commanded them. And if you were his lawyer, if you were Rodrigo Duterte's lawyer and you saw him do that in Congress under oath, where his statements were recorded, would you take the risk of bringing him to this confirmation hearing? So it's possible that it was Kaufman who told him not to show up, and maybe Duterte, in fact, wants to show up. And maybe he should. Maybe if he really believes in the correctness of what he did, that even if these were crimes that in his mind he had to do them, he had to commit them, he had to kill people for the reasons he claims, he did them, maybe he should stand up for that. No? Kung may paninindigan siya, panindigan niya.
Mhm. Attorney Carranza, meron akong dito a couple of questions na nakuha natin sa social media, no? And if we can siguro explain, no, yung legal, kasi medyo technical at legal itong mga ito. If we can explain them in the simplest way possible para for the knowledge ng ating mga nanonood ngayong gabi, ano. Attorney Carranza, unang tanong, paano daw po kapag lumabas na yung desisyon over the jurisdiction at mapatunayan na wala ngang jurisdiction ang ICC over the case of President Duterte? Ano po ang mangyayari dito sa lahat ng progress na meron tayo ngayon?
The case will be dropped. The case, the judges at ganito, no? Let me correct my answer a little bit. The appellate chamber will rule on jurisdiction based on the grounds raised by Kaufman and Duterte. No? Ang ground nila na principally na nagsimula yung investigation after the withdrawal of the case. Ang ground naman ng prosecutor, the examination, which started before the formal investigation, already meant the case, the ICC had jurisdiction over the case. Yun yung ground, and that's what the appellate chamber will rule on, whether in that situation the ICC continues to have jurisdiction. There are other ways for the ICC to have acquired jurisdiction over Rodrigo Duterte, and there are other potential arguments why it might have jurisdiction. Those have not been raised in this case, and I don't want to go into them in too much detail. So it's possible that if the grounds exist in the minds of the appellate chamber, then they will dismiss the case. But they can also say, if the prosecutor has other arguments to support jurisdiction, show them now before we order the dismissal of this case and the release of Rodrigo Duterte.
Attorney Carranza, now just a question of fact, no, and not specifically on the case of President Duterte, pero mayroon na po bang precedents na ang iniimbestigahan or may kinakaharap na kaso dyan sa ICC because of the long time ng proseso, ay inabutan na ng kamatayan habang in detention. So ano po mangyayari naman sa mga kasong ganung klaseng kaso?
Merong pending investigation ang ICC involving Libya nung panahon ni Muammar Gaddafi. No? So when Muammar died, they had the case dismissed. Kasama dun sa kasong yun yung anak ni Muammar Gaddafi, si Saif Gaddafi, who was assassinated just about 2 weeks ago. So right now, the ICC is officially checking with the Libyan government kung meron bang formal death certificate proving that Gaddafi died. So when a person detained or charged or facing trial at the ICC dies, there's a process to remove him from the case. So may mga detenido pa sa ICC, no? Yung iba detained after conviction, yung iba naman detained while pending trial. No? May isang Libyan, for example, who was just arrested a few weeks ago, and so nananatili sa ICC hanggang magsimula ang kaso at matapos ang kaso.
Huling katanungan na lamang, Attorney Carranza, and this is a question that's commonly discussed, no, among the supporters of former President Duterte. Bakit hindi na lamang sa Pilipinas pag-usapan itong kasong ito? Bakit hindi dito litisin? Bakit hindi dito tingnan kung guilty ba o not guilty? Because ang sinasabi naman nila, wala naman na sa power si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Ang sinasabi pa, meron namang nakulong doon sa kaso ni Kian de los Santos. So, bakit hindi na lamang dito sa Pilipinas? Bakit kailangan sa ICC pa investigahan?
So, una, kailangan tandaan na ang kaso sa ICC hindi murder, kundi crimes against humanity of murder. Yung ICC is prosecuting Duterte for crimes against humanity. So, ang tanong, pwede bang magkaso ng crimes against humanity sa mga korte sa Pilipinas? Ang sagot, pwede. Nung miyembro pa ng ICC ang Pilipinas, pwedeng magkaso ng crimes against humanity against Duterte when he was president in the Philippines, except that the Philippine Constitution made him immune. So, it brings up the question, saan siya pwedeng kasuhan kung immune siya sa Pilipinas? Sa ICC. But would he have submitted himself to prosecution at the ICC at that time when he was president? The answer is no. Nang panahon naman ni Marcos, tandaan natin na si Marcos Jr. actually supported Duterte. Sinuportahan niya si Duterte, no? Nagpadala siya ng abogado sa ICC para sabihin hindi kami sang-ayon na ipagpatuloy ang kasong yan dahil pwede naming imbestigahin, ituloy ang pag-iimbestiga dito. So, ang tawag yan, deferment. Dinefer ng ICC. Tandaan natin, binuksan yung kaso 2016. May press release ang prosecutor's office warning officials of the Duterte administration about the drug war killings. Inumpisahan ang preliminary examination 2018 at inauthorize ang preliminary investigation just months after nag-withdraw ang Pilipinas from the ICC. So there were all of these opportunities from 2016 up to today, or at least until he was arrested, to investigate and prosecute these crimes against humanity in the Philippines. Nangyari ba? Hindi. Ang standard ng ICC, papasok lang ang ICC kung unable or unwilling ang isang bansa na imbestigahin at litisin ang crimes against humanity. So unable or unwilling, hindi kaya o ayaw gawin. Ang naririnig lang natin na argumento, hindi kaya, hindi kayang gawin. Kaya naman gawin daw ng mga korte ng Pilipinas. Kaya naman daw imbestigahan ng pulis at ng prosecutors ng Pilipinas. Hindi ginawa. Ibig sabihin, ang standard na hindi nasundan ng Pilipinas, unwilling, ayaw gawin. So, it's the unwillingness that is the basis for the ICC to have proceeded with this case.
To wrap up our discussion, Attorney Carranza, so tonight we will hear the second part nitong presentation at statement ng common legal representatives ng mga biktima. We'll have a break tomorrow and we resume Thursday to hear the defense's side naman of the things. Ano yung dapat nating bantayan? Ano yung dapat nating pakinggan doon sa ilalatag ng defense?
Unang-una, we will probably hear Kaufman, and maybe Kaufman will even show parts of Duterte's speeches saying that he warned the police, that he told the police not to commit crimes, in the same speeches that he encouraged people to kill. So maybe he will do that. Pangalawa, he will probably show that the Philippine authorities did in fact investigate some of these killings and it led to charges. So sasabihin niya halimbawa yung Kian de los Santos case. I don't know, however, whether he will say enough to dispute the fact that one case out of thousands is enough to overcome charges of crimes against humanity. Pangatlo, he will probably indicate if he will present witnesses should the case go to trial. And these witnesses could be other officials of the Duterte administration who might say that they were never told to kill. This is what they did, that this is the rule that they followed. And we don't know if he will do it, but that's a possibility.
Attorney Carranza, huling tanong na po talaga, no? Pasensya na po, nag-enjoy ako masyado dito sa ating pag-uusap ngayong gabi. It's one thing that I've been thinking about, and I keep on asking my guests dito sa ating programa, no? Is there a world where we can view this trial as politics free? Na parang this is a trial about accountability, not about politics, because frankly speaking, there are people who are watching itong trial, sinusubaybayan itong trial na ito, who have already made up their mind, even without hearing the evidence presented by the prosecution or ng defense, just because they are a critic or they are supporter of the president. How do we convince people who are following this trial that this should be about accountability and not about politics? Again, not an issue on innocence or guilt o kung ano man po yan. We're not trying to speculate, but it is about accountability and not politics.
Yung halimbawa na binanggit ko kanina sa Kenya, no? May patayan nangyari pagkatapos ng isang election doon, and there were attempts at investigating in Kenya local courts, pero hindi kumbinsido yung mga taong iba na kayang gawin ng mga korte at huwis ng Kenya ang imbestigahin ng sarili niyang mga presidente at vice-presidente. So ang naging slogan nila, don't be vague, bring it to the Hague. No? Huwag maging malabo, dalhin na lang yung kaso sa Hague. And in the Philippines, that's sort of what has happened. Siguro sa mga nanonood nitong live stream sa ICC, no, siguro tanongin nila ang sarili nila kung saan, kahit saang panig sila nandoon. No? Marcos Royalist, anak ni Duterte, pro-Duterte, or even people who are not convinced either way. Tanongin nila ang sarili nila, itong seryoso, maayos, hindi masyadong mapolitika, no? Walang mga Pilipinong politiko na nagpe-perform na para bang artista sila sa mga nakikita nila ngayon sa ICC sa live stream. Itong ganitong paraan ng pag-uusig, ng paghahanap ng katarungan sa mga namatayan naman talaga. Totoo namang may namatay, no? Dinideny lang ni Duterte na siya may pakana ng patayan. Itong mga pangyayaring ito, itong seryoso, may dignidad, maayos at formal na proseso, pwede ba itong mangyari sa Pilipinas? Posible bang magawa ito na hindi nahahaluan ng politika, hindi nahahaluan ng pananakot, hindi nahahaluan ng korupsyon? Yun ang tanong.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Attorney Ruben Carranza, para sa inyong oras. It was a very insightful discussion. Maraming salamat.
Salamat din.